Hello guys, I'm back from another video. Today we're talking about what if Belle was overpowered as hell. So, in the last video we talked about how, Belle was basically left alone in the, mansion with, Loki because everybody's basically currently doing some of their, daily missions or things of that sort. So Belle was just basically alone with Loki, having to deal with her. So yeah, after dealing with the drunk Loki, he would decide to get some sleep because he's basically done with this bullshit. So, after a while of basically sleeping, he would basically wake up as he would hear the sound of a drunk Loki seeming to be angry. So, Belle would think, God damn it, Loki, not right now. So, Belle would basically start to, get up from his, bed as he would start, going towards the noise, going downstairs, as he would notice a drunk-ass Loki being restrained by several of the members of the Loki Familia, as he would see a person from the Apollo Familia right in front of them. As Belle would basically tell all of them what the heck is going right, like he's basically asking what the heck is going on. So, after explaining that apparently this man by the name of Alfonso, which is the name of the Apollo Familia member, apparently his sister and his squad were basically captured by, a group of smart monsters, specifically lizard men. But Alfonso was basically the only one that escaped. So he would basically ask for them to basically, help him out, basically saving his sister, as Belle would basically ask him to maybe pay them first. So, after telling them that they would give him maybe 50,000 Valas, but Belle would basically tell him to maybe double that. So, after doubling the price, Belle and the rest of his team would basically, start to go into the dungeon to basically save them. So, after arriving there, they basically started fighting these lizardmen. After a while of basically fighting them, Belle would recognize one of them, specifically the leader of this, ragtag crew of smart monsters. In this case, this monster that he recognized was the leader of the, pack, or whatever. Apparently, back in his day, back when he was still, Skullface, he basically killed an entire group of, lizardmen-like monsters, but not killing the actual leader, which, at the time, he was pretty weak. So Belle would basically spook him away to basically, I don't know, maybe leave him there to just, die from, bleeding from his eye. So, after those few years, the monster, or more specifically the, lizard man, became super strong and wants to take revenge on him for basically killing, the rest of his squad back in the day. So, he would basically start charging in, basically fighting him, and even using skills, in fact. So, after killing him, Belle would basically, defeat him once again. So, after saving the rest of the, Apollo Familia members, one of them would ask if he wants to, date her, but Belle would basically decline, saying that he's not his type. Not her type. And not only that, he's also, in love with somebody else. So, yeah, after saying that to her, well, they would basically start to leave. After getting their pay, well, Belle would basically split it between them and also the rest of the, gang that basically participated in that event. So, yeah, after that, they would basically start going back to their, room, or at least I meant Belle, god damn it. Yeah, in this case, Belle would basically go up to his room as he would basically fall asleep. So yeah, that is basically what happened last episode. And so, let's talk about what happens next. So, Belle is currently doing some missions as Belle is basically, going through the dungeon, basically killing some monsters. After killing some monsters in the dungeon, he would go back to the guild as he would basically, bring in his finds. So, after getting his Valis, he would decide to leave. While he was basically moving towards the city to basically, maybe have lunch, going towards, the hostess of fertility, he would run into Ryu, as she would say this. Oh, hi, Belle. As Belle would say this. Oh, hi, as she would say this. So, as Belle would say this. Oh, yeah, I've been doing missions for a while now, so, as she would say this. I see. So, are you planning to eat here again? As Belle would say this. Oh yeah, as she would say this. I'm guessing the reason why is because you do like me. As Belle would say this. Yeah, I mean, as a friend. As she would say this. Oh really? As Belle would say this. Yeah, obviously. As Belle would start to blush a little bit. As Belle would start going towards, the, towards the door of the, hostess of fertility. As you would go in, he would basically order his usual, which is basically just like, a big plate of meat and some mashed potatoes on the side, and a large, I guess you could say bottle, or actually, I don't really know what to call it. I'm just gonna call it a cup of like ale. So, after getting his, fill, he would decide to, pay as he would start to leave. So, currently, a certain girl, aka Ryu, was basically being told that, her job is done. So, she was told that she can leave now. So, after Ryu would basically start to leave, she would see Belle basically going towards, the marketplace. As Belle would basically go towards the marketplace, as he would order some, breads and also some, yeah, I guess you could say like, meats like, for example, like salami and things like that. Basically like, luncheon type meats. So, after, going through the market, he would decide to go back, to the, wait for a second, back to the mansion. So, after leaving, he would see Ryu basically stalking him, as Belle would say this. Seriously? As Belle would basically, he would be in the alleyway as he was basically hiding from Ryu, as he would create a large, not really large crow, it's more like an average sized crow, similar to Itachi's crows from Naruto. So, Belle would basically set the crow to basically go and watch over, Ryu. As Belle would basically start to leave the alleyway, as Ryu would basically start to, follow him once again. So, the crow is basically, using one of his eyes. It's basically like similar to Hajime's, drone or whatever. It's basically similar to that, where he's using one of his eyes as like, the eyes of for, the crow. So, he would basically be watching Ryu as he would notice that she was following him. So, after turning a corner, Belle would basically hide over there as he would basically reabsorb the, crow. Ryu would basically follow him as Belle would basically catch her in the act. As Belle would say this, "Alright, what are you following me for?" As she would say this, "Oh, I want to ask you this." As Belle would say this, what is it?" As she would say this, "Well, do you want to go on a date?" She would basically say that, as Belle would say this. What?" As Belle would start to, blush almost pure red. As she would say this, "Yeah, do you want to go on a date?" As Belle would say this, sure. Yeah, I can certainly, join you on a date." Belle would basically start to, scratch the back of his head. As she would say this, wonderful." As she would say this, "Well then, let's go." As Belle would say this, "Wait, right now? I mean to bring..." As she would say this, "Oh, we can do it later." So, she would start bringing him towards a little area of the city. As it turns out, there's a festival, specifically a festival for the Monsterphilia. As she would basically ask Belle to basically go to the Monsterphilia with her. So, after deciding to go with her to the Monsterphilia, they would go in as they would see that the Monsterphilia is about to begin. So, after going into the Monsterphilia, like the Monsterphilia's, like, I guess you can say, like, auditorium, they would basically start to go into their, specific seats as they would start the show. They would see several monsters getting into fights with some of the adventurers, or at least the participants, as everybody's basically, excited seeing all of the monsters getting defeated. Belle is seeing all of this as Belle would basically say to himself, "Yeesh, their form is a bit bad, but pretty effective. But still, a bit too flashy in my opinion." As Belle is basically eating some of the, luncheon meats with, with Ryu, and also some of the bread, he would realize that he needs to, save some of it for the rest of his, friends, specifically like, Eyes and many others like Bet. So, Belle would basically tell her the rest is for his, friends, as she would basically understand as they kept watching. So, a few hours have gone by as well, the leader of the, Ganesha Familia, specifically Ganesha himself, would basically announce that the Monster Familia has concluded. So, everybody would start to leave, including, Bell and also, Ryu, as Ryu would basically say this. That was fun. As Bell would say this. Yeah, that was certainly fun. Anyway, I should be leaving. As she would say this. Wait, Bell. As Bell would say this. What is it? As she would say this. Well, as she would basically go closer to him, as she would basically kiss him on the, cheek. As she would say this. Anyway, bye. She would basically start to, go back home, as Bell would basically touch, his cheek where he got kissed. As Bell would say this. Did I really just... As he would start to blush even more, as, well, he would decide to go back to his, home, aka, to the mansion, as when he arrives, well, Loki is currently drunken and still fighting like a random, Loki Familia member. For basically telling her, she was kind of flat. Yeah, let's just say things are currently going out of hand. As Bet would notice him, as Bet would say this. Hey Belle, where have you been? As Belle would say this. Oh, I decided to buy some stuff for you guys, so as he would bring out the luncheon meats and also some of the bread, as they would start eating. As Bet would say this. Wait, if you buy this much, then why were you so late? As Belle would say this. Oh, it was nothing. As Belle would basically start to blush, as one of them would say this. Specifically Finn. I know that you're probably lying, Belle. As Belle would say this. What do you mean? As Belle would basically start, blush even more, as, Bet would say this. That is usually not normal for you to basically start blushing. Wait a minute. Maybe you were, as Belle would say this, you were what? As he would say this. Oh, I don't know, maybe like having fun with the Ryu girl or whatever, your little crush, as everybody would just hear that, as one person, specifically, Leafia would say this. Wait, a crush? I didn't know that. As Belle would say this, we were just doing some fun. We were just going to the Monsterphilia, and as one of them would say this. Oh, so it was a date? As Belle would basically start blushing even more after hearing that, as Loki would say this. You flustered little mess. And I thought you were supposed to be the most scariest monster imaginable, but it turns out that you're a little kid with a little crush. And not only that, you were super embarrassed about that little date of yours. As Bo would say this, it was not a date. It was just, we were just hanging out. He would start stuttering as Belle would say this. Anyway, I should be leaving. I'm gonna be going to sleep. So, yeah. So, after that, Belle would basically go back to his room as he would basically, go onto his bed as he would fall asleep. So, the next day comes as everybody's basically waking up to go do their, typical missions. So, wait for a second. As for Belle, Belle was told that he's going to be paired up with a person by the name of... yeah, let's just call him Dan. Dan is just like a random Loki Familia member, as they were told to go to the 50th floor, which they were told to go there because apparently a village there is currently, in trouble. Apparently, they've been attacked by a large monster, and this large monster seems to be controlling other monsters, specifically smaller ones, to basically raid the village every night and every, chance that they get. So, after Belle was told of this, him and Dan would start going towards that village, as Belle would say this. So, Dan, as he would basically look at him, as Dan seems to be a type of demi-human, seeming to resemble a fusion between a human and some sort of, dog. As he would say this. What is it, Belle? As Belle would say this. What are you exactly? Are you a type of mage, or as he would say this? Oh, I'm an assassin. I specialize in, agility and also slashing. As he would say this. So, where are your knives? As he would say this. Oh, I don't really use knives. I use this. As he would basically bring out a long sword. As he would say this. Wait, I thought you were an assassin. As he would say this. Well, an assassin with a bit of a long sword fetish. As he would say this. Excuse me, what? As he would say this, oh, nothing. Anyway, we should start moving. As he would start leaving him, as Bell would basically, say this. Hey, Dan. As Dan would say this. What? As Bell would say this. I think it's better if we do this instead. So, Bell would basically start to, create a monster from his back. As Dan would say this. What in the... As Bell would say this. Oh, that's an upgrade to my skill. I'm able to basically create a monster that I have killed and basically turn it into my ally. Kind of. They're basically just like, a reflection of it. As this monster seems to resemble a small wyvern. Small enough to maybe like carry about 3 people. So, after going on this large wyvern, they would start flying away towards the, city. So, after arriving at that little, city or village or whatever, they would decide to go into the bushes to basically, kill this monster, aka, or should I say, like, absorb this monster? Yeah. So, after absorbing the monster, Dan would say this. Wait, why did you, as Bell would say this, do you want the villagers to basically try and kill us? I mean, they do have adventures as well, so, as he would say this, oh, yeah, it makes sense. So, after arriving at the, village, which was called, which was a small, I guess you could say, like, fishing village, because this place is actually filled with lots and lots of rivers, and not only that, a pretty large lake. And this lake is filled with so many delicious fish. So, Bell would basically go towards the gate as one guard, specifically an adventurer, would basically say this. Halt! What is your... As Bell would say this, well, we're here because of the guild. They told us to basically come here because of a little, mission. As they would basically bring up the flyer about it, as he would say this. Specifically the guard. You're allowed in, Mr. As he would say this. Oh, Bell Cornell. And Dan would say this. Dan, he would basically say this, his last name. Dan Belladonna. As he would say this. Okay, you can come in. So, they would start going into the city or village. As you would see, the village seems to be not in good shape. There's several holes in the, houses. Wait first. There's several holes in the houses. There's several damaged buildings, and some of the stalls of the, shops are currently damaged beyond repair, except for the fishing market for some odd reason. As one of them would say this, hey, are you the adventurers? As you would see a dwarf. As Bell would say this, yes, you may call me Bell Cornell, and this is my associate. As you would say this, the name's Dan Belladonna. As he would say this, very well then. I'm the mayor of this, fine village, and, well, former fine village. Thanks to the monster attacks, we've been not getting, too many visitors. As Bell would say this, I see, so can you give us a description about these monsters, exactly? As he would say this, very well, Mr. Bell, and you were, or at least 2 of you, are you members of the Locophilia? As he would say this, yeah, why? As he would say this, oh, nothing much, we just want to confirm. As Bell would say this, okay then. So, they would go into the, mayor's office as the, mayor, aka the dwarf, would basically explain their whole situation, and explaining what the monster looks like. And after Bell, uses some of his drawing skills, he would find out that this monster was a type of Hydra. This Hydra almost seems a little bit more aquatical than, the typical, Hydra, which has a bit of, amphibian, characteristics. So, after saying all of these things, well, the man would say this. Okay, so, I just want you to kill this monster, and also kill its pack. As Bell would say this. Okay then. So, after doing that, they would start to leave, as they would be approached by many other adventurers, which were, quite excited meeting, members of the, Loki Familia, because they would hear stories about the Loki Familia back in the surface, or at least in the, wait for a second, in the village about their exploits, including Bell, because After hearing about him being the original Skullface, aka the most powerful monster imaginable, well, they were the one to ask for him to basically battle them, including one guy which, well, was a bit too confident, to the point that he's basically acting like Bakugo. Wait for a second. So, this man by the name of let's just call him Dickhead, just for obvious reasons, because this man was a bit too prideful. To the point that he's basically like Bakugo if you add Bakugo with a mix of like, Lucifer, as in, the king of pride or something like that. And that's basically what you get. So, this man by the name of Dickhead would basically tell everybody that he can easily beat them, no matter if they're, a member of, like, the Apollo or a member of a familiar or whatever. So, he would basically ask them to basically, fight him. So, Bell would basically, be the one that's going to be fighting him, as he would basically start charging in and start, using his skill, which his skill is basically, enhance strength and also enhance, senses. Bell would basically start fighting him, as Bell would basically, gets the upper hand and defeats him in an instant. So, after everybody sees their, top, adventure being defeated by this kid, well, let's just say everybody was basically flocking to him, including, the fangirls, which, the fangirls that, Dickhead basically had, basically started flocking towards him to basically, ask, for his hand in marriage, which not Izuku, I meant Bell. I meant Bell would basically obviously like decline, saying that he's in love with somebody else. So, after that, they would basically, get ready because it's currently nighttime. So, Bell and also Dan would start getting ready for the Hydra to finally appear. So, Bell and Dan are basically just like, currently in a campfire outside of the, city or the village, basically, roasting some, I guess you can say like huge stacks of meat, as Bell is basically like eating some of the fish there. After eating some of it, it would taste super good, to the point that it's almost kind of addicting. After a while basically eating the fish, he would basically be full. So, Bell and also Bell and also Dan would basically get ready, as they would basically get ready with their swords and also shields and ready. Or at least Izuku in this I meant Bell, for God's sake. I meant Bell in this case is using, his sword and also his, shield and ready. But for, Dan would basically bring out his longsword at the ready. So, they would wait for about a few days, like not a few days, I meant a few hours, as they would hear the sound of rumbling in the, water nearby. As they would see a large Hydra coming out of there, as he would basically shoot out this large scream, which monsters nearby would basically start charging in, going towards the, city gates, getting ready to, charge in there and basically kill the villagers. But Bell and Dan would basically charge in, as they would basically start killing all of the monsters. The Hydra would resemble a, if you ever seen the false Hydra from like, from Dungeons and Dragons, just imagine it like that, but except with a more lizard-like head or amphibious type head. So yeah, it basically has the texture and look of the, of the false Hydra, which, by the way, was terrifying when I first heard it. Like, Jesus fucking Christ. Just imagining that in my fucking nightmares, just, no. There's no way I'm never gonna think about that. No. It's just, no. So, Bell and also, aka, Dan, would basically start, fighting this large Hydra-like monster. This Hydra would shoot out tons and tons of these, fireballs, and shooting out ice from one of its heads, and the other would be lightning. Bell would basically dodge all of it, but for, Dan would get hit by the, electricity, as he would get hit, seeing that his body is basically, completely paralyzed. Bell would see this, as he would basically summon out a large wolf to basically turn into a large, shield to basically protect him. Bell would basically, bring out his sword, as he would basically activate its, energy tip or whatever it's called. So, Bell would basically charge in, as he would basically start fighting not really false Hydra, I meant the Hydra once again. After a few hours of basically fighting it, and also some of the adventurers basically waking up and seeing that, these guys are basically defeating the false, or, the Hydra, Bell would basically defeat it by slamming one of its, heads with the laser like tip and basically cutting off all of their heads at once. So, after doing that, Bell would basically see that the, false Hydra, or whatever you want to call it, the Hydra, would basically start, regrow its heads, gaining, about. As Bell would see that the heads would basically start regrowing, and about to basically regrow 6 heads. Bell would start to, quickly think as Bell would see a piece of debris, more specifically, a piece of raw iron. Or more specifically, like, scraps of iron, specifically nearby to a pile, was a bunch of, like, broken and also probably, old armor, which during the attacks of between them and also the, that Hydra, well, some of their, you know, friends and also probably family would be killed because of that thing. So they would basically throw their armor into the, pile to basically act as like a memorial. So Bell would basically bring out some pieces of this, broken armor, as he would basically throw, some of them at the, healing heads of this, Hydra. So after doing that, they would basically stop regrowing because of the melting metal, which when he used it, he would basically use a fire breath skill which he gotten from, a dragon, and using his, enhanced strength to basically throw the arrows like a spear. So after basically using these, molten, chunks of like, metal at the, holes where the, Hydra heads are supposed to be, regrowing, they would basically deactivate as the false, or whatever you want to call it, Hydra, would basically be defeated. Because the heads don't have any place to basically regrow. So, everybody would basically celebrate knowing that this monster would be, dead. After Bell basically explained that he should, at least like, bring it somewhere else to basically, not let anybody basically take off the metal from its, stumps, as the rest of the monsters there basically were killed by some of the other adventurers, as Bell and Dan were basically celebrated as great heroes. So, after that day, Bell and also Dan would basically get up as they would basically start going home with some souvenirs, like for example, some freshly caught fish, and also, well, for Bell's case, he would get, he would get several love letters from some of the, female adventurers. Mostly ones that are, kind of a bit thirsty and also kind of a bit, fame hungry. So, after Bell and Dan leaves, they would basically start to leave to go back to their, mansion. When they got back, everybody is currently tired. Except for Bet, which Bet is currently just waiting for their next mission. After Bell explains about, their whole mission in the, 50th floor, well, everybody was basically congratulating him, as one of them would basically say this, being Bet. So you're basically being stalked by the whole entire village population of the girls, or at least some of the adventurers, as Bell would say this. Yep, and I'm not really interested in them. After all, I'm in love with somebody else. As one of them would say this. So you're damn committed, said, a person by the name of, like a member of, like a random member of the Lucky Familia, as Bell would say this. Damn straight I am, as Bell would basically say this. Anyway, good night, Dan, as one of them would say this, but it's currently morning, as Bell would say this. Sorry, I'm a bit tired from the whole walking thing, so, as Bell would basically stumble upon his room, as he would basically take off his, armor, as everybody would just hear the sound of a slam onto the bed, as they would see Bell basically gone to sleep or knocked out. So, Dan would basically say that he's also quite tired, so he would decide to go to sleep back to his room. So, yeah. So, after that day, both Bell and also Dan would basically fall asleep. So, yeah. So, this is going to be the end of this episode, and so, I hope you liked the video, comment and subscribe, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye-bye!